guys, welcome to another episode of Mental Health with Mecca. Today's episode is very special because we have a very special guest with us today. She runs a social enterprise called For a Cause, which aims to enhance life skills, self-empowerment, and positivity in people. She's a writer, a poet, and a motivational speaker. And above all of this, she's such a great human being, and it's always such a pleasure talking to her. So we welcome Ma'am Sadaf Usman to Mental Health with Mecca. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you for having me here, Maria.
Thank you. So today's topic is, ma'am, so important. It's on parenting, effective parenting, and how it affects the mental health of children. So I'm going to dig right in and ask you, why is effective parenting important, and what role does it play in shaping up a child's personality?
Thank you, Mariam. I think effective parenting in itself is a big science and an art, I believe. And
So true.
trust me that in our society, in our culture, we have some really, age-old wisdom from our elders and from generations that have passed by. But we have not taken parenting as something that needs to be learned and something that we should get ourselves educated about. I believe that many times what happens is parents, they end up losing one child in the process of learning how to become an
Right.
effective parent.
Right.
But effective parenting is about, all those elements that make us a good human being too, like good listener, like, empathy, kindness, patience above all. And I was thinking on these lines, and I realized that sacrifice is such an essential element of effective parenting, because you have to, sacrifice your own. Sometimes you have to sacrifice your own desires, your own plans, your own commitments for the greater good of your child. So I think parenting needs to be taken as a very serious subject, and anyone who is a parent or who will be a parent, they need to really think about these elements during the time they're planning to become a parent, and even afterwards. And it is something that needs to be learned on the job. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
You may read about parenting like at the age of 60, but I don't think it would help you much. So as a parent myself, I was fortunate enough to come across literature that gave me a lot of insight into what makes an effective parent. And I would suggest everyone that please be humble because we think it will come naturally to us. It's something that
Right.
it just dawns upon us. But I've realized that the more I learn about it, the more I've read about it, it has kind of opened up a second eye, I would say, or a third eye that kind of holds me back whenever I think that I'm losing track of being a good parent.
Right. बहुत सारे लोग हमसे ये भी सवाल पूछते हैं कि like you just mentioned, it's on the job, you keep learning, it's a process. So people ask us कि वो क्या technique है या approach है, the one thing that we can do to be a great parent. So what do you say to these people? Like, what's your take on that? Because you're a parent yourself, and I think there's nobody better than you who can answer that.
I'm a parent to 3 wonderful daughters, and
Mashallah.
they are all going through their own stages. और जैसे आपने पूछा कि वो एक टिप क्या है, वो एक secret क्या है, so there's no secret to it, I would say. Sadly enough, there's no, because no two human beings are perfect, so no
Absolutely.
relationship will be perfect. I think we need to really understand that. As a parent, I think I would give you 100% guarantee that I am sincere to my kids. This is something I think most parents can vouch for it, that unki sincerity ko you cannot question it,
Right.
you cannot hold it.
Right.
But other than that, हर relationship के अपने dynamics होते हैं, हर बच्चे की अपनी personality होती है. So there is no एक कोई formula नहीं है, कोई rule नहीं है. हाँ, लेकिन कुछ individual जैसे है ना ethics होते हैं, या कुछ एक I think very basic जो एक values होती हैं कि मोहब्बत सबको पसंद है, इज़्ज़त सबको पसंद है, एहतराम सबको पसंद. और मैं इसमें एक बहुत आपको important बात अगर कह सकूँ कि जो इंसान की रूह है ना, वो कहते हैं वो बालिग होती है. सो अ चाइल्ड इवन इज एन एडल्ट, उसके वो देखने में एक छोटा सा बच्चा है, लेकिन उसकी रूह बालिग है, एंड ही कैन फील. उसको रिडिक्यूल भी उसी तरह इफेक्ट करता है जिस तरह एक एडल्ट को करता है. तो एक बच्चे की भी इज्जत नफ्स होती है. सो आई थिंक उसकी रिस्पेक्ट करना, एक बच्चे को ट्रीट करना एज एन एडल्ट. एंड आप ये देखेंगे कि जिन बच्चों को रिस्पेक्ट किया जाता है, उनको एडल्ट्स की तरह ट्रीट किया जाता है, उनके बिहेवियर के अंदर वो चीज़ एक डिग्निफाइड उनकी पर्सनैलिटी होती है, एंड दे they reflect that. वो कहते हैं ना
Right.
बच्चे imitators होते हैं, so
Right.
they will imitate what they see. So if you respect them, वही उनकी personality का हिस्सा बनता है.
और आई थिंक दैट्स सो ट्रू. और हमारी सोसाइटी में हम ये भी चीज़ देखते हैं कि वी आर टॉट कॉन्स्टेंटली दैट वी नीड टू रिस्पेक्ट द एल्डर्स and not human beings, as a whole. So it's so important that you mentioned it, that a child's respect is also very important. A child needs to feel respected and loved, and I think that's a very important thing that you mentioned. So ma'am, what do you think is a barrier in effective parenting? Because I'm sure there must be a lot of challenges that you face on a daily basis. So
You're right. बहुत से बैरियर्स आते हैं, कुछ हमारे कल्चरल बैरियर्स भी हैं जिसमें समझा जाता है कि बड़ों की बात जैसे उन्होंने कहा है इट कांट बी क्वेश्चनड. उसके बारे में कोई ऑब्जेक्शन करना, अपना पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू देना, उसको एक डिसरिस्पेक्ट की कैटेगरी में रख दिया जाता है. उसकी वजह से पेरेंट और चाइल्ड की कम्युनिकेशन में इश्यूज आते हैं. पेरेंट्स व्हेन दे डोंट गिव इनफ टाइम टू देयर किड्स, दे जस्ट डिक्टेट. बस वो एक वन साइडेड एक उनको फ्लो आ रहा होता है कि दिस इज़ व्हाट इज़ नीडेड टू बी डन, ये डिसीजंस आपके लिए ले लिए गए हैं, वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट इट, आपका ओपिनियन डजंट मैटर बिकॉज यू डोंट नो द वर्ल्ड आउट देयर, यू कैन नॉट. सो इसके अंदर एक हमें मिडिल ग्राउंड आई थिंक फाइंड करनी बहुत ज़रूरी है. वो रूबी का एक है ना, समवेयर बियॉन्ड राइट एंड रॉन्ग देयर इज़ अ गार्डन, आई विल मीट यू देयर. I think as a parent, I also feel that I need to meet my kids there once in a while, because our life is full of do's and don'ts. You can't do this, you need to do this. So it's all about things that need to be done. And I have to, steal away those moments where I can just know them as human beings. And I think वो relationship सबसे important है, वो time सबसे important है जहाँ आप bond करते हो, आप सिर्फ सुनते हो. You just let them be. वो एक space of freedom देना उनको जहाँ पर they can be who they are, they can feel that comfort level with you, कि वो अपना share कर सकें आपके साथ बात, अपने problems voice कर सकें और उनको एक trust level जो है वो develop हो. And for that obviously time की investment बहुत ज़रूरी है. मैंने इतनी दफ़ा लोग कहते हैं कि we have help at home, तो I would wonder that फिर माँ का रुतबा इतना क्यों है? अगर इफ मेड्स कुड रिप्लेस मदर्स, तो फिर मदर्स का रोल क्या है? अगर सिर्फ फीड करना, बच्चों को क्लोथिंग करना और उनको ऑल दीज चोर्स जो कोई भी कर सकते. सो देर मस्ट बी समथिंग एल्स दैट वी आर डेस्टिन्ड टू डू एज पेरेंट्स. हमारी कोई बड़ी जिम्मेदारी है जो कहते हैं ना जन्नत माँओं के कदमों तले है, तो वो जन्नत तक पहुँचाने वाला फिर शायद वो एक ट्रेनिंग क्या है जो बच्चे को इस काबिल बनाती है कि वो जन्नत का हकदार बन सके. सो मेरा वो वाला एक एलिमेंट भी आता है कि वी हैव to be that role models for them. और वो role models देखो, a child cannot learn from a person he doesn't like.
Right.
तो आप बहुत अमेजिंग ह्यूमन बीइंग हो, लेकिन आपकी बच्चे के साथ वो रिलेशनशिप नहीं है जिसमें वो आपके लिए एक लव फील करता है, उसके दिल से एक आपके लिए. और मरियम, अल्लाह ने बच्चों के दिल में मोहब्बत डाली है माँ बाप के लिए, लेकिन माँ बाप कई दफ़ा अपनी रिजिडिटी से, अपनी स्टबननेस से वो चीज़ खो देते हैं. जैसे ही मैं कहती हूँ बच्चों के पर निकलते हैं तो वो चले जाते हैं, उड़ जाते हैं, क्योंकि माँ बाप ने वो रिश्ता ही नहीं रखा कि बच्चे माँ बाप के साथ एक बॉन्डिंग रहती. डिपेंडेंसी का रिश्ता जहाँ तक फूड क्लोथिंग तक होता है, तो वो जब वो नीड्स कोई कहीं और से पूरी होने लगती हैं तो बच्चे को और तो कुछ रिश्ता था ही नहीं जो दैट वाज होल्डिंग हिम बैक. नीड्स वर होल्डिंग. लेकिन अगर इमोशनली बच्चे की आपके साथ एक कनेक्शन होता है तो फिर वो रिश्ता जो है ना उसका कोई चीज़ तोड़ नहीं सकती.
Absolutely, I think she summed it up so well. हम behavioral psychology में एक concept पढ़ते हैं modeling का. So in that it's all about what you see, you will model that behavior. और ये start होता है बचपन से, when a child sees their first role model, which is their parent, and they will model every behavior that parent is actually exhibiting. So ये बहुत important है कि आप as parents कैसे role models हैं towards your children in order for them to learn from you and take things from your personality and make them a part of their personality. And like you said, rigidity is something that can really push a child away from you. So this was going to be my next question actually, कि communication का क्या role है in parenting, because a lot of children these days choose to go to their friends rather than their parents to talk about their problems, or probably even their teachers or somebody else, but they would not come to their parent. So why do you think that happens, and how can we better the communication between both a parent and a child?
अगेन इसके अंदर आई थिंक कम्युनिकेशन अगर पेरेंट और चाइल्ड के अंदर इम्प्रूव करनी है तो वो कंफर्ट लेवल क्रिएट करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. बच्चे आपको टेस्ट भी करते हैं कई दफ़ा. वो आपको कोई छोटी सी बात बताएंगे, दे वुड वांट टू सी हाउ यू रिएक्ट टू दैट, जस्ट टू सी दैट शुड दे बी शेयरिंग द बिगर ट्रूथ विद यू और नॉट. तो यहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा आई थिंक विजडम की ज़रूरत है. पेरेंट्स को भी ये रियलाइज़ करने की ज़रूरत है कि वी कांट बी परफेक्ट. आई थिंक पेरेंट्स नीड टू बी काइंड टू देमसेल्व्स. I have done it so many times that I kind of confide in my kids. Sometimes I tell them, when I was your age, I used to do this. And then they kind of feel that comfort level that they can share their, kind of demons with me. तो वो उनके लिए एक वो हो जाता है कि अम्मा is a human. She tries to portray कि उनकी life was picture perfect थी और कभी कोई ऐसी बात नहीं है. But I had issues with my mother. So when I talk about them with my kids, they feel that okay, so we can talk about our issues. Secondly,
nobody's perfect. Nobody's
exactly.
life is perfect.
I think we're hard on ourselves as parents at times. और हमें लगता है, और इस वजह से मरियम हम अपनी mistakes भी नहीं admit करते. एक और चीज़ कि जब हमसे कोई गलती होती है तो हमें लगता है कि हमने admit कर लिया तो हम छोटे हो जाएंगे बच्चों के सामने. हमारा image, they will think they are apologizing before us. जबकि मुझे लगता है कि ये बच्चों के दिल में आपकी रिस्पेक्ट बढ़ाता है, because then they realize कि when she was wrong she had the इतनी courage थी कि आके मुझे कहा कि बेटा I'm sorry, I was not in a good mood today. I often tell my kids, sometimes I tell them today I'm in a bad mood, it has nothing to do with you, but I need some time. So they because I need to give them that perspective, because कभी-कभी you have some work related or some other kind of stresses, and you take it out on your kids, और वहाँ फिर again वो communication चीज़ ख़राब होती है. But when from my end too, I need to communicate to them that today I had a hard day, I'm maybe in a bad mood, but it has nothing to do with you. So they understand it and they become more kind and more kind of caring towards me. अगर मैं वही चीज़ नहीं करूँगी तो उनको होगा कि for no reason she screamed at us, or she was she's always in a nasty mood. So वो मेरी तरफ से भी communication उनके लिए ज़रूरी है. Similarly, they can come up to me and tell that today we had a very terrible day, so I can say okay, you take your time, go to your room, give yourself some moments and then we'll talk about it. So ये communication दोनों एंड से आई थिंक बहुत ज़रूरी है.
बहुत ज़रूरी है. एंड आई थिंक कि एज अ चाइल्ड, आई कैन स्पीक एज अ चाइल्ड राइट नाउ कि आपके पेरेंट अगर आपको आके स्पेसिफाई नहीं करते, ये कम्युनिकेट नहीं करते कि दे आर हैविंग अ बैड डे, स्पेशली एज for younger children, they tend to take it personally, feeling like they did something wrong, and that can be very detrimental to their mental health. They could already be going through a bad day at school, and when they come home they might think okay, unhone kuch kiya, which is why their parent is scolding them. So that could be really, really detrimental. And also similarly, if you're telling your parents that I went through a bad day, how I'm behaving has got nothing to do with you, I feel like these things should not be taken personally. And a lot of the times, a lot of the things that we communicate, they're taken personally, in the sense that why is she behaving like this with me? Is it because of me? Is she being rude to me? She's being disrespectful to the parent? Is that why she's behaving like that? So I think there needs to be a nice way of communicating, and as well as understanding. Both of these are very important.
I have a daughter who's going through the same stage, and I kind of feel like she's saying this to me, and how dare she, and I have all these scary kind of thoughts that what am I doing wrong as a parent, and why would she answer back, because she's going through her puberty stage and she has all these I think she's discovering herself, she's discovering her voice, her opinions. And somebody told me that you have to be the bigger person here. So the problem is with me that I have to kind of wait it out. I think I have to wait it out, the period, because I know it will pass. It's just a phase. Lots is happening within her, it's difficult for her to make sense of it. I need to be the the patient one here. I need to be the one who has to see the bigger picture here, who has to kind of, I think, pause and reflect is something I keep telling people in so many circumstances, that please, like we were discussing before and you were talking about something, and I was thinking I will mention it, that parents are in a in a rush and they're trying to get from one day to the other. But sometimes I would just suggest that just sit back and reflect, and just think of what you are creating and what kind of a person are you modeling for your kids, and just reflect on it. We can't be perfect. I'll say that again and again. I make 100 mistakes every day as a parent, and sometimes I feel like I'm failing as a parent, and that's very natural. But I think we need to be kind to ourselves. We need to admit to our kids that we are human. we are trying our best. Sometimes we lose maybe our temper. Sometimes we say things we shouldn't. But deep down, the relationship is it has deeper roots than that, and we are going to amend too. It's not like this is who I am and I'm going to stay like that, and it can't be that way. I can't be that. I'm going to be like that. I've been like that for 30 years or 40 years. So bear with it. So that's the wrong approach.
Yeah.
So knowing that yes, I may be at fault, I'm going to try. I can't promise that it won't happen again, but the effort. And Maniam, I was mentioning all those reading materials, and I was saying that read up on parenting, learn from speakers who are experts, psychologists, because I think the second voice becomes stronger. For me, this is what has happened, because I hear that voice in my head when I do something wrong. I hear that voice tell me that you should have not spoken in that tone. You shouldn't have used that word. There was a very small quote I read. It said, "Don't say you're a bad boy. Say you've done a bad thing." And I can't stop thinking. It's kind of stuck in my head that don't label the entire child as bad. That act is what is wrong, but not the child. So I think sensitivity is very important. And here in our society, we think it's my kid. It's my property.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they are not our property. अल्लाह की तरफ से कहते हैं ना, अमानत है वो.
Right.
So we are even answerable for that. So हाँ, बिल्कुल एक मुश्किल जिम्मेदारी है. नीयत अच्छी है. उसके अंदर सीखने का एक आई थिंक वो एक ओपननेस होनी चाहिए. वो एक आई थिंक लाइफ लॉन्ग लर्निंग जो है ना, वो अप्रोच वो हमें एक एज पेरेंट्स भी अपने अंदर रखनी चाहिए. और बहुत सी ऐसी बातें जो हमें हम्बल करती हैं. और ह्यूमिलिटी जो है वो तो इंसान होने की निशानी है. सो ह्यूमिलिटी इज़ नॉट अ बैड थिंग. येस, आई मे हैव मेड मिस्टेक्स. एंड आपको पता है, मैं I've apologized to my brother for some things. I've apologized to my grown-ups for. जब रियलाइजेशन हुई तब अपोलोजाइज कर दिया कि भाई मैं बचपन में कुछ ऐसा आपके साथ किया. अब जाके शायद वो बॉदर भी ना उसको. लेकिन आई थिंक वी नीड टू बी द बिगर पर्सन. और हमें अपने बच्चों के साथ भी एक एटीट्यूड ऐसा रखना चाहिए जहाँ वो हमारे पीछे हमें हमारे बारे में दे कैन स्टेप अप टू अस एंड दे कैन काइंड ऑफ टॉक टू अस एंड दे कैन बी प्राउड ऑफ द पेरेंट्स दैट वी आर टू देम.
That is, I think, a beautiful advice. I think acknowledging your mistakes, your flaws, and just telling your kid, through your actions and behaviors, that nobody's perfect and you don't have to be flawless. Lastly, I'd like to touch upon this thing. As children, we're constantly torn between respecting the wishes of our parents for what they want us to do and kind of discovering ourselves and following what we want to do. So, of course, it's very important to respect what our parents want to do as well. But how important do you think it's, to allow your child to just discover and follow their heart when they, for example, let's say want to pursue a particular career choice? How important do you think that is?
Once I wrote something and it was like, parenting is about standing on the sidelines, and I thought it was right, because you're standing on the sidelines. Let them have their game. It's their playground now. You've done your part. You've lived your life. Now let them do their own experiment. Just stand on the sidelines, cheer them up, encourage them. They should know that you're right there for them. But don't live that life for them. Let them, set them free. They will fall and they will get up. But, don't put the burden of your dreams on your kids. Because they are a completely different individual and they will grow and blossom in their own beautiful way. So I think इसमें faith का element भी एक तरह से आता है कि थोड़ा सा trust factor होना चाहिए कि उनकी journey पे trust हो. मैं कहती हूँ journey पे trust नहीं भी तो journey design करने वाले पे trust हो. आपने अपने हिस्से की जो अच्छे अच्छे elements थे, ingredients थे अपने बच्चों में, वो आपने pass किए, like integrity, honesty, truthfulness, ये सारे आपने उनको सिखा दिए, hard work. तो वो सारा कुछ आपने उनको सिखा दिया. अब वो जो भी ट्रैक लेंगे उसके अंदर वो एक्सेल तभी करेंगे जब वो उनके अंदर की आवाज़ होगा. आप उनको प्रेशराइज करके उनके ऊपर एक अपने कि मैंने सोचा था कि मैं इंजीनियर बनूंगा तो मैं नहीं बन सका फॉर सम रीज़न, नाउ यू आर गोइंग टू लिव दैट ड्रीम. सो वो ना वो अपनी ज़िंदगी जी पाएगा और ना आप अपनी ज़िंदगी जी पाएंगे. सो उन ख्वाबों के बीच में वो बच्चा भी कहीं लूज़ हो जाएगा, बिकॉज वो एक बहुत बड़ा प्रेशर होता है. एंड आई नो सच इंडिविजुअल्स. और इसका सबसे बड़ा लॉस ये होता है कि यू लूज द चाइल्ड हिमसेल्फ टू, नॉट जस्ट द ड्रीम्स बट वो बच्चे. और एक वो आता है कि यू नेवर लेट मी परस्यू व्हाट आई वांटेड टू.
आइडेंटिटी क्राइसिस आ जाता है.
एग्जैक्टली. और आइडेंटिटी क्राइसिस के साथ साथ वो पूरी एक करियर के अंदर भी, बिकॉज आप देखो एक्सेलेंस उसके अंदर आती है जिसमें मेरा एक अपना पैशन भी चल रहा हो. अदरवाइज इट्स समथिंग दैट यू कीप डूइंग, लेकिन उसमें वो आपकी वो यू डोंट शाइन आउट, उसके अंदर आपके वो नहीं नज़र आते, आपके स्किल्स नहीं उस तरह से नज़र आते. सो एक्सपेरिमेंट करना, बच्चों को वो स्पेस देना, आई थिंक वो ज़रूरी. और इसमें फिर बच्चों का भी एलिमेंट कि यू हैव टू काइंड ऑफ, कुछ पेरेंट्स के पास एक विजडम होता है, दे हैव सीन द वर्ल्ड, दे नो के ये दिस इज़ अ सेफ ट्रैक. तो वो भी समझना ज़रूरी है कि इफ़ योर पेरेंट्स आर सजेस्टिंग, आई नो सो मैनी किड्स, असल में मरियम बड़ा अजीब सा एक रिश्ता है ये कि आई सी सो मैनी किड्स हु ब्लेम देयर पेरेंट्स for not letting them pursue their dreams, and there are kids who blame their parents for letting them pursue their dreams. So even they are upset with their parents because they think
क्या आपने रोका क्यों नहीं?
जी आपने मुझे क्यों नहीं, मैं तो बच्चा था, आप मुझे बता सकते थे.
It's a tough job.
It's a tough job, and I would say to such kids that there is an expiry date to blaming your parents. Please, there is an expiry date.
I think either way is blaming a child and a parent. Both of them need to realize that they're humans and they'll make mistakes. And let's say if a child is making a choice which didn't work out for them or they're not successful, I don't think the parent should really blame their parenting for it also, because it's happened and you can't really change it. And so at that point it's important for the child to be able to learn to move on.
Yes, मुझे यही लगता है कि own up your journey. मतलब ठीक है भाई, I own the entire journey to myself. ठीक है, मेरे से मुझसे गलतियाँ भी हुई, मेरे से सही डिसीजंस भी हुए. That's how it's supposed to be. It can't be a smooth ride. और इसके अंदर अगेन वही जो आपने कहा कि ना पेरेंट्स खुद को ब्लेम करें ना चाइल्ड, एंड इट शुडंट बी द अदर वे अराउंड टू. सो प्लीज़, अगर कोई अपने पेरेंट्स से नाराज़गी है, कोई किसी के दिल में कुछ है, सो ये बिटरनेस जो है ना वो आपको कभी भी ग्रो नहीं करने देती, आपको निकलने नहीं देती, एक नेगेटिविटी के अंदर आप रहते. सो कॉन्शियसली, you know, I told my mother had a difficult life. My grandmother was a single mother and she raised her kids all by herself, and that was a tough job. So she was a mother and a father to her kids. So my mother was raised by tough a parent. So मेरी अम्मी के अंदर वो चीज़ है कि मतलब she's not that kind of hugging all the time or showing her love and expressing it. तो मुझे बहुत टाइम लगा ये रियलाइज करने में कि because she was not shown that kind of पेरेंटिंग ना, क्योंकि उन्होंने अपनी अम्मी को टफ देखा तो वो भी टफ. सो देन आई रियलाइज एंड आई वेंट अप टू हर वन डे एंड आई सेड, अम्मा मुझे अब समझ आ गई है कि नानो यूज्ड टू बी अ टफ मदर और इसलिए वो इतना एक्सप्रेसिव नहीं होती थी, सो आई विल बी द एक्सप्रेसिव वन. एंड देन आई वेंट अप टू हर एंड आई हग्ड हर. इट वाज वेरी इमोशनल मोमेंट.
आई थिंक इससे वी लर्न समथिंग वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, व्हिच इज दैट एवरी पर्सन गोज थ्रू सर्टेन एक्सपीरियंसेस फॉर देम टू बिकम द वे दैट दे आर, वेदर और नॉट यू लाइक दैट. You have to respect their journey and you don't have to try to change them, but you have to learn to adapt to that, both the parent and the child. It's very important. So I think those were some great words of wisdom. And before we end today's episode, would you like to say some last words to our audience, because a lot of the people on our page are mostly young, towards the younger side, students, adolescents, so university going students. So what would you like to say to them?
I would like to say that basically what I feel is that parents से ज़्यादा obviously sincere relationship कोई नहीं होता. They may not understand you, आपको एक barrier लग रहा हो, लेकिन reach out to them, try and connect with them, do it in different ways, write a letter to them, talk to them, go out with them, एक common ground ढूंढे उनके साथ, क्योंकि ये रिश्ता इतना खूबसूरत है, इतना प्यारा है और इतना बेलौस है कि इससे ज़्यादा मुझे लगता है बेलौस रिश्ता कोई होता नहीं. मैं अक्सर ये कहती हूँ कि हमारे पहली सांस से लेकर अपनी आखिरी सांस तक जो रिश्ता हमारे साथ है वो वालिदैन का है. फ्रेंड्स गो अवे, एवरीवन गोज़ देयर ओन वे, लेकिन एक माँ बाप हैं जो अपने आखिरी सांस तक अपनी औलाद के लिए अच्छा ही सोच रहे होते हैं, नीयत भी अच्छी होती है. सो प्लीज़, फॉर सम रीज़न अगर कोई आपके कम्युनिकेशन इश्यूज़ हैं, यू फील लाइक दे आर नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग यू, मेक एन एफर्ट, ट्राई एंड फाइंड कॉमन ग्राउंड्स. और अगर नहीं भी होता तो दिल के अंदर ये ज़रूर उनके लिए अपने लिए फीलिंग रखें कि दे ट्राइड देयर बेस्ट. आई ऑफन से दैट हैड दे नोन बेटर दे वुड हैव डन बेटर, एंड आई टोटली बिलीव इन दैट, बिकॉज ये अल्लाह ने ऐसा रिश्ता बनाया कि इसके अंदर खलूस से ज़्यादा कोई चीज़ है नहीं. सो इसको नेवर डाउट योर पेरेंट्स सिंसेरिटी फॉर यू. एंड टू पेरेंट्स आउट देयर आई वुड से दैट stop being in a race, stop comparing your kids with other kids, try to embrace them for the people they are, for the human they are, and as long as they're good human beings, I think you've done a great job.
Oh, wow, she pretty much said it all. I don't think I need to say anything after that. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us here today. I think this was such a informative episode. I think I learned so much, and hopefully everybody learned a lot too. So thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we shall have you for another episode in the future. Thank you guys for watching this episode. Hopefully it was very helpful for all of you. If you like this episode, like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel.